How's it going, everybody? So with the recent changes to Inferno, there's a bit more hype around this map than before, so hopefully we're going to be seeing it get picked more often in Premiere and Face It. So with all of that being said, today I want to take a look at how to anchor the A site on Inferno. This is one of the most important roles in all of Counter-Strike, so let's take a look at how the pros are doing it. But before we dive straight in, I want to thank today's sponsor, SkinsMonkey. So SkinsMonkey is an automated CS2 trading site that provides an instant way for you to get new skins. All you have to do is select your old skins that you don't want anymore and then pick out some fresh ones to trade for. It's as easy as that. And right now you could get a free $5 if you use code CSTactics on the site. And finally, you could get up to a 35% deposit bonus when using my code. So thanks again to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Links in the description. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to break down the A defense into 3 different phases. You've got the opening or early round phase, the mid-round phase, and of course the late round phase. So let's go ahead and get started with the opening phase. So the most common setup that you're going to see is one player arch side and one player lane, with utility being thrown down mid at the very start of the round. A lot of times you'll see them mix it up by boosting a player up on top of patio or just making the jump up there, and they'll often stay there until first contact is made. Obviously, these are some of your more passive early round setups for A. Let's take a look at how some of the pros like to get aggressive, starting off with phase. You'll see in this clip, Brokey's going to throw the instant mid lineup paired with a bottom banana mid smoke that's going to sort of corral the T's towards the top of T ramp, where FaZe is going to dump a few HE grenades down there, and during the chaos of all of that going on, Rain ends up going for a cheeky little peek from apps and gets an opening kill. So now let's go ahead and break down all of that utility real quick in a refrag server. So Brokey ended up getting this spawn right here, and this is one of the easiest spawns to get for an instant smoke lineup. If you just go to the top left of this double roof, you can just do a simple W jump throw, and that smoke's going to go all the way up here. It's going to bank off of this left wall, and it's going to end up fully smoking off mid from the T perspective. This is a really good one to throw, especially when you pair it with the second smoke that Brokey threw, where he went right here into this chair corner, and he just went up from this left side of the window in between these 2 pillars into this divot right here and did a simple W jump throw. Yet again, that's going to go all the way down here, and it's going to pass through this gap, bank off the side here, and this smoke is not only going to smoke off the bottom of banana right here, but it's also going to smoke off all of mid. So there's this kind of gap right here in between these 2 smokes that FaZe ends up mollying off, and just like that, you were denying the T's a ton of space. You'll also see Rops come right into this position and do a simple jump throw at the bottom right of this window for a nice re-smoke here towards bottom mid. That's going to bank off of this wall, and it's going to not only smoke off all of mid, it's also going to smoke off banana. So it's a really good re-smoke you can throw for your B players, as well as to help out any of your A players that are pushed up towards this area of mid. And I realize this isn't really part of defending A, this is more of a mid take, but your A players have such a significant role in this sort of early round utility that it's a good idea to understand how to take full advantage of it. So what Rops ends up doing is just a very standard mid play where he's just going to molly off the bottom here, and then after those smokes come down where he's in complete cover, he just throws a nice little run throw with an HE that goes all the way down here onto T ramp to where any of those players corralled down there are going to get hit with those nades. Very simple utility, but it's very effective for the situation. So another extremely effective setup is having 2 players in apps early round. If you'll notice, in this example, Bit and Wonderful scale up through halls and get into a very potent setup. Bit ends up taking the first player down, then immediately moves to molly off mid, which isolates Kerrigan in a one-on-one fight. After he brings him down, he times out another excellent peek and transfer it into one of the most ridiculous 4Ks you'll ever see in map 3 of a major final. And here's another example where the Opper is going to be the one making contact. They get a little delayed by the spam here, but after Jimmy passes the hall, Torsey takes the angle and gets an early pick onto Nexa and then falls back onto site. Not only is this a great position to get early picks from, it's also a fantastic spot to get information. If you'll notice, Jimmy here hears Nexa drop down onto the ground and is able to immediately start pushing out towards mid. He comms that to Torsey, who then runs out of boiler and ends up catching Nexa, jumping up through Mexico, getting that early pick. And then if you'll take a look here, they have a really good situation in this 3 versus 2 to be able to pinch D2 from every single side. A lot of times after a double app setup, the A anchor will stay in boiler or somewhere up in apps as the other player's rotating towards B. In this situation, Jimmy's able to shut down a man advantage situation for Liquid by just being in boiler and being a little bit better than the other guys. You'll often catch Robs playing in a similar position, especially when he has a gun like an MP9. He'll just kind of be crouch spamming to see if he can spot an enemy clearing angles up here towards the top of apps. In this situation, he does and just destroys DCT here without any chance for him whatsoever. So now let's go ahead and transition to talking more about the mid round. So let's backtrack a little bit back towards those boost positions I was talking about earlier. So there's one thing that you have to understand, and that is that you do not want to die holding brackets. It's a position that you can definitely give up because there are much stronger defensive positions that you can take from pit and sight. Take a look at this example from Robs. He's set up here ready to take on Astralis, but once he starts to feel a little bit more pressure than usual, he's thinking, okay, there could be quite a few guys here that would just absolutely overwhelm me. He decides to fall back and move back towards sight. In contrast, here's an example where Mezzi is kind of out on an island here up here and ends up just getting double peaked and destroyed in this angle, and as a result, they have a free ticket right onto sight, and they're going to end up losing the round off the back of it. So here's an example of when you actually would want to fight from up here. As you can see, Zywoo's up in this position, and first of all, if you're Zywoo, you can fight anyone. But second of all, notice how he's got some teammates around to support, as well as a smoke that's dropped down here to where he's able to kind of use it to his advantage to spam through, navigate around, and end up finding 2 frags before moving back and falling onto sight. But another aspect to this is knowing when to get aggressive. If you'll notice here, FaZe is in a very interesting situation. They're in a 4 versus 3 here with 3 players stacked up towards Banana, with Robs being the lone man over here on A. So if he dies, the round's over. So you typically wouldn't expect someone like Robs, to be getting aggressive in this situation. But let's watch and see how this round plays out. As you can see, FaZe is pushing down Banana here on the minimap, taking a little bit of space. So this Molotov comes in, so Robs is already moving back to where, hey, if they get aggressive, he can maybe get one, fall back on a site, and delay for his team. But something happens. They end up dying. One of the FaZe members dies here on Banana, and Robs realizes, hey, you know what? I bet they're going to be focusing on Banana now. So he's kind of picking up on this potential gap. So what does he do? The second that all of that contact is being made down there, he starts kind of inching up towards mid, with the potential of shooting someone in the back. And that's exactly what he's going to do here. He's going to peek out, have a player back turned just like that, immediately is thinking, where could someone else be? He's immediately thinking about DCT being here in apps as the lurk. As you can see, he's holding for it, and starts taking a look. He's holding, knows that DCT is probably going to try to do something, and of course, catches him too. That's 2 frags from getting aggressive in a position to where he is the lone player on A in a 3 versus 3 at the beginning of 4 versus 3, but a very smart play from Robs here, and that is just being smart with aggression. So now let's talk about the different site setups you can have. This is more of the late round type setups whenever you're actually expecting the T's to push onto the A site. So my personal favorite is a nice pit and sight crossfire. We're going to take a look at an example from Norbert here. You can see where he's going to end up mollying them off to give time for his rotate players to get into position. And as you can see here, they have 3 guys set up for an absolute blender that the T's are about to walk into. Take a look as Norbert is able to shoot these guys in the back without them hardly having any chance whatsoever because of the sheer amount of angles they're having to walk into. So here's a pretty cool example where Mir just throws a flash into apps to try to bait out a response from G2. And as you can see, that comes in and causes them to absolutely read Braille up there and start spamming their weapons, giving away that early information so that VP are able to rotate 3 players on the site into a similar setup as before. And even with Norbert completely fumbling and mollying himself off right here, they're able to completely shut down G2's site hit. Another really powerful setup is whenever you have a player up on balcony and another player back in pit. As you can see here, Skulls and Cadian are combining here for a pretty potent mix. And another super powerful position you can do is a double up towards lane side, especially if the T's haven't established very strong brackets control. This is a really good counter for an apps pop, and you can take a look at how effective it is with Robs just completely dismantling the enemy from this position. So now let's move on to some bonus utility. You're going to see a lot of A players throwing these HE grenades. One of them is where you're going to go right here towards the bottom of boiler and just do a simple left click throw with an HE towards these top 2 steps. That HE is going to go all the way down here and it's going to land right in these guys' face to destroy anyone standing in this position, starting to clear their way up towards apps. Another HE that you're going to see very frequently is one where they'll walk up the stairs here and just left click one off the left side of this door. That's going to end up landing out here into this position. So anyone standing around this area is going to get absolutely nuked by this thing. And finally, one of the new areas that a lot of people are throwing utility from is right here in this little mailbox corner. And so a great way to deal with that is if you're ever in a position to just left click at this lamp with an HE, well, that's going to land right in that guy's face. And of course, while they're sitting here lining up different smokes, like maybe the arch side smoke from right here, well, they may just take a big 50 damage HE grenade right to the face. You'll also see Rops walk into this doorway and just left click towards the top of this lamp with a Molotov, and that's going to land right here and should fully molly off the entirety of this room as well as the balcony. And if you were paying attention during that VP clip, you would have noticed that Norbert, while jiggling here from pit, the second he would spot a T, he would typically bank a Molotov off of this default box to buy enough time for his teammates to rotate in and get into a nice pit crossfire setup. And while that molly was burning, a lot of times he would just throw an HE over this van to just destroy anyone's setup right out here waiting to peek after the Molotov ends. So one thing that you'll notice in the tier 1 scene a lot is that they're smoking off apps in anticipation for a Halls pop a lot more than in CSGO, and this is likely due to the fact that generally in CSGO you would hold on to the smoke to drop it down here to put out a molly or just to throw it, and then they would jump up on top of, I guess this was a bike in CSGO, and they'd be able to see over it to peek over here into lane in kind of a one-way smoke angle. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for most people, now you can't really see over the smoke into lane anymore, and especially if it ends up landing closer to you, I mean, this thing's gonna go straight up into your face and you can't see anything at all. And of course, if you want to throw that flash we saw Mir throw and you don't want to be exposed just in case they peek out, you can be standing anywhere behind this box in this region and just left click in between these two notches on this wire. That flash is going to go all the way up here. It's going to pop straight out over into this position and full blind anyone standing back here in apps. And if you ever want to flash apps, whether for a teammate or just for information like Mir, and you don't want to be exposed, you can be standing anywhere behind this box back here and just do a simple left click throw in between this notch and this notch on this wire. That flash is going to go all the way through here, and it's going to full blind anyone standing out here in Hall. So if you have a teammate here, they can peek with that very easily and have a very free kill on anyone standing in this position. So yeah, guys, I hope all of these setups, positions, and utility is going to help you out in your next CS2 Inferno match. I definitely hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, let me know down in the comments below because I love getting your feedback so that I can make more videos that you guys want to see. If you want to support me, go ahead and click that Skins Monkey link down in the description. And if you want to show me your utility, go ahead and join my Discord down in the description as well. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one.